Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Fantasy Football Scout. In this video, we're finally moving on from FPL, obviously with the closure of that, not the weekend just gone, but the weekend before that. And we are going to move on to Club World Cup Fantasy. And I'm going to give you my first draft. And I'm about to show you my screen in a minute, but don't panic because the team I'm showing isn't my team. It's just a load of placeholders, which I'm obviously going to change to the players that I'm actually going to be selecting in each position. But as well, before we get into the video, of course, if you could help the channel by dropping a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, it really helps the channel and really helps us boost on the algorithm and get this video out to more people who are also interested in Club World Cup Fantasy. So please do that. But before we get into all that, of course, let's move on from that and just get into the video itself. I think that's the play. So yeah, this is, but don't, as I said, do not be shocked because he's not exactly my team at the moment. So this is the screen, as you can see there, Club World Cup Fantasy. There's a few different rules in this game as well, which is a very interesting one. The one that I sort of stands out to me of all the rules is if you've got a player that's got under 5% ownership, and I believe if they get over 5 points, something they get an extra 2 points. It's something like that. But basically, for picking differentials, you get a bonus. Now, my team is predominantly European based, and what I mean by that is all European based because that is predominantly where my knowledge lies. However, I do know obviously there's going to be a lot of good picks from the Saudi League, from the Argentinian League potentially as well. And I've actually got, I'm just thinking about it now, I've actually got one River Plate player in there, but he's a backup goalkeeper. I've sort of given away a bit there. But yeah, let's get on with the draft, shall we? So let's start in goal. Obviously, this guy's probably a fantastic goalkeeper, but we don't need him. We need, instead, the first player I'm going with is down at 4.9 million. Where is it? It is Perrin. Now, there is a bit of a sort of query about Perrin. He's been on loan basically this year at Juventus, from all I know. And there's a potential that his loan's expired before the start of the Club World Cup, which could be a bit of an issue, obviously, which means he won't be playing in it. But I do expect probably something to be sorted there and him to play. But obviously, if I do a second draft for this, potentially he might be out of the team. That's just something to bear in mind with Perrin. But I think at the price point at 4.9 million for the starting Juventus goalkeeper with the fixtures they've got, I think he looks a really, really nice pick, in my opinion. So we'll start with him in goal. Then we're looking at, for me, a really cheap goalkeeper. In as well to partner him. And that, of course, is going to be, where is he? There's loads of cheap goalkeepers. Look at all these at 4 million. Where is my guy? There he is. Armani. So Armani is the River Plate goalkeeper. He is the only player I've actually got from the Argentinian league in there. He's basically a placeholder, but River Plate actually this season have been pretty good. I think they've kept clean sheets in like 40-45% of the games. So they have been pretty strong. Obviously, haven't been facing European teams yet, which obviously could change that. But for me, I quite like him. I think he's quite a decent option. Moving on to the defense. Now, again, there's probably some question marks about these two picks as well, especially one of them. But I am doubling up on the Inter Milan defense. Obviously, having watched the Champions League, as I'm sure we all have at the weekend, the Inter Milan defence maybe not quite as good as we first anticipated it was, losing obviously 5-0. However, I do think I like obviously the wing-back system that Inzaghi plays, and there's also a question about him. He might be off to Al Hilal. But I am going with both of the Inter Milan defenders, and that is, of course, Denzel Dumfries, who is quite expensive, but I think he's worth it. Really attacking. Plays on that, obviously, the right wing-back slot for Inzaghi's Inter Milan team. And then the other one that I'm going with is obviously DeMarco as well, who is slightly cheaper. Where is he? Can I see him? There he is at 5.8 million. So I'm going with a double up on Inter Milan defense, which is, yeah, as I said, could potentially be a bit of an issue with how they've performed recently. But yeah, that's my current feeling on it. I'm going with them too. Both really attacking. Should be playing. Should be obviously have some. They've got some decent fixtures as well, as of all the European teams. So I quite like them too. I think they're good picks. Obviously, as I said, the attacking standpoint, I think is massive for the wingbacks as well. And Dumfries, obviously, as we know, has been fantastic in Champions League, especially Dumfries for attacking returns as well. So yeah, there to make it. In terms of the another centre back that I'm going to be playing every week, that is going to be Gvardiol. 6.1 million, so more expensive than the rest of the Man City defence. I just think for that attacking output that we know he has, obviously in FPL as well, I just think he's worth the extra price spot and actually going to just about afford it in my team as well. So yeah, that makes sense to me. He looks like an obvious pick. The next one as well is someone, basically when I looked at this draft, I looked at the sort of teams I wanted to target. I haven't got any Porto players in yet, but there will be some Porto players in, as you can imagine, because if anyone that's seen and looks around fantasy, the Club World Cup fantasy so far, there is a lot of bargain players, I think, in the Porto team, in my opinion, compared to how good they're going to be against the oppositions they're playing against. But another team I think they've got a massive upside in fixtures is Borussia Dortmund. And their left back, Reyerson, wherever he is, for me, looks like a really, really good pickup. Only at 4.9 million as well. I expect him to be one of the most highest owned defenders in the game. When I look, as I said, when I look at the price point, he just looks like a really good option, really attacking. Again, playing on that left-hand side for Borussia Dortmund. I think he's a really good pick. They've got some outstanding fixtures as well. I don't know if you can see it, but they've got Fluminense. Then they've got a team I can't pronounce. Let's call them Sundowns. And they play anyway, you get the idea. 3 on paper, in my opinion, really, really strong fixtures. So yeah, I think you need triple Dortmund actually, and I have got triple Dortmund. Again, I keep giving stuff away. We shouldn't do that. And the final defender is someone quite cheap. Does play for Porto. I did give that slightly away earlier in the video. I believe he's about 4.1 million or 4.2 million, wherever he is. Not him. Where is he? Francesco Mora. There you are. 4.1 million. I do like him. Again, as I said with the Porto, the fixtures look fantastic. Palmeiras, who I think will probably be quite a decent side in the first game, which obviously that might not be the easiest fixture. And then maybe Inter Miami might not be the easiest fixture. But I do expect Porto. Maybe I'm wrong. And maybe I'm sort of biased towards the European teams. But I do expect Porto to probably win the first 2. And obviously, I expect them to beat Al Ahly, I think, in the third game as well. So really good fixtures. He hasn't started every game, I don't think, for Porto, but when he does play, he's quite attacking. So yeah, as a nice budget option, I think he is. Francisco Mori is a really, really solid pick. Moving on to midfield, someone that lit up a European competition quite recently, as everyone will know, and that is Cole Palmer. He makes my first pick. Obviously, fantastic in the Conference League final a few days ago. When recording this, he was outstanding, wasn't he? I mean, what did he? 2 assists in the second half that sort of really got Chelsea going. Obviously, they went on to win comfortably in the game 4-1. But he obviously, he said something that was interesting actually after the game as well. He said that he was bored of passing it sideways and backwards, and he just wanted to go forward, and that's what he ended up doing. And obviously, then it created the 2 goals and the 2 assists for him. With the first one being Enzo Fernandez assist, and obviously the second one being Nicholas Jackson. I think that form, hopefully, it takes into the Club World Cup, and which will make him, in my opinion, a really strong pick. The next player in midfield that I'm going with is another really expensive, and actually my midfield is a very expensive midfield that I've gone for, because I've sort of saved money in the attack where I think potentially people won't, because I think I found a really nice pick. But it's Michael Olise. Obviously, he's been fantastic for Bayern Munich this season. And what I'm targeting massively about Bayern Munich is that first game against Auckland City. Now, according to the bookies, they are the worst team in the thing. They're the least favourite to win the Club World Cup. I think like 1,000 to 1 to win the Club World Cup. So my game has been to target that fixture with attackers from Bayern Munich. So I think Michael Olise of the midfield picks, he's probably the best one in my opinion. I really like him, and I think that's a really upside pick. So I think he's. I haven't seen loads of people actually with Michael Olise in the team. Maybe where I've looked, that's where it's been. But I think he looks like a really nice pick, and he has got a massive upside as well. He's been fantastic, obviously, when he transferred from Crystal Palace to for Bayern Munich last summer. So yeah, he makes up a really valiant pick in my opinion. And then my next midfielder is going to be Ousmane Dembele. Now, the most expensive in the game. So actually, when looking at it now, I've got the 3 most expensive mids, which is potentially a weak point in my team. But you know, that's the way I've looked at it. Dembele. Now, the only thing with Dembele is his first fixture doesn't look very good. He's got Atletico Madrid and that's the first game. So if you know when you need to build your team by, it's 15th of June, but that day is the first game. I don't believe this is actually the first game played, but it comes off with obviously a sort of blockbuster fixture with PSG, Atletico, but that doesn't really suit Dembele. Obviously, it's not fantastic that he's got that game in the first up front. However, after that, obviously, then he's got 2 for me really sort of favourable fixtures, and I just think the form he's shown, obviously in Ligue 1 and also in the Champions League, fantastic. I mean, he for me in the final for PSG where they obviously beat Inter 5-0. Yes, obviously Doué will probably take all the plaudits for Tinya, etc. But and Hakimi potentially as well. But Dembele was outstanding without actually contributing loads in terms of goals in that game. But I thought it was an outstanding performance, and he has been outstanding all season for PSG. And he's also nailed up front as well, pretty much, because Gonzalo Ramos obviously gives him a bit of competition, but not really. So yeah, for me, Dembele, although he's got Atletico Madrid in the first game, for me he is a really, really nice pick. The next midfielder is back to Borussia Dortmund again. There's a few decent options. Jeremy Gittins, who potentially is off to Chelsea, Adeyemi, but I can't justify the price point. And actually, Julian Brandt, when I've looked, and you've looked at yourselves, he's made a really strong end to the season at Borussia Dortmund. And I think at 6.5 million, which is his price point, 1.5 million less than Adeyemi, it just looks like a really good pickup for me. Also a bit of a sort of a, as I said, because he's a mid-price player, it obviously allows me to have the sort of the blockbuster players in Palmer's and Elise's and Dembele's as well in the team. So yeah, I just really like Julian Brandt. I think if you are going, I won't go Jeremy Gittins. I think there's a bit of a problem with minutes potentially with him. But if I was going to go anywhere else, it probably would be Adeyemi. I'd probably try to get up to that money. But I think Julian Brandt at 6.5 million is a bit of a snip, to be honest. And the final midfielder is again back to Porto. So you've probably sort of seen the theme with where I'm going here. And again, another really budget option, wherever he is. A long way down because a lot more midfielders than there is defenders. Where is he? Rodrigo Mora, there we are. Another youngster, I believe he's 18 years old. 0% ownership as well at the moment, which is fantastic. Yeah, again for the price point, he's had a pretty good season. I don't think he's completely nailed for minutes, which is the only slight worry. But he has had a strong season in Porto, and as I said, for 4.2 million, playing in one of the stronger teams. And again, if we look at the Porto fixtures, like I showed before, they are pretty strong. So for that price point, I think he will be a really good pickup. Again, I might be wrong about this in terms of how the European sort of teams sort of feature and sort of get on against the other teams in the rest of the world. I've sort of got them down as the massive favourites and the strongest teams. But maybe Inter Miami would surprise me and be able to beat them. Maybe Palmeiras is the same. But at the moment, as I said, my team is sort of built around a sort of cheaper budget players from Europe, and also then obviously the more premium assets as well, which of course are pretty much all the premium assets that as well. So yeah, he makes up my final pick anyway in midfield. Now moving on to the attack, a bit of money to spend, but obviously I think I've only got 19 million left, I believe. No, 12 million left. I can't hardly see from back here. So obviously, as you can see, I don't obviously these are placeholders, so I've got a bit more money than that naturally. But I don't have enough money to do 3 big hitters up front. And this is where my team's probably different to other people. And I'll show you what I mean. The first player, obviously, is not a surprise for anyone, probably, and that is Harry Kane. Again, like I talked about with Elise, that first game against Auckland City looks a fantastic fixture, in my opinion, and I want to target that game massively. So Harry Kane will probably be my captain and get in Matchday 1 as well. So he makes my first striker option. Expensive player, of course. Fantastic season in Germany, as we all expected. And I expect to have a good Club World Cup as well. But as I said, there is someone next to him who is also more of a premium asset. And then we've got a budget option as well, who I really like. And I think potentially is the most underrated player in the game at the moment. Anyway, let's move on. So a lot of people are going to go, oh, I need Vinicius Jr., I need Mbappe. And I think they potentially are good picks. I think Messi at 10.5 million is probably overvalued, in my opinion. Again, I'm not sure on Haaland at 11 million. But yeah, the player I'm going is Guirassy. Absolutely fantastic season in Germany again. As I talked about, their fixtures look fantastic. So for me, again, having triple Dortmund, because they are that sort of budget player. They're not as expensive, obviously, like the English teams and Bayern Munich, etc. They are that price point down. So I think there's some really good snippets. And I said it, Guirassy for me at 9 million looks a fantastic, really, really fantastic option. As I said, brilliant season in Germany this year. And my final pick, this is where it's probably different to a lot of teams, is a man I've found that plays for Porto. And he's got something like 20, I believe he's got about 25 goals this season. And he's 4.2 million. Now, as I said, a lot of people will probably go with the likes of Mbappe and Vinicius in this spot and go really heavy on the attack. And that's a player, and they probably downgrade one of the midfielders. But for me, the way I've looked at it, where is he? But the way I've looked at it is because he's such a good option, in my opinion, up front. Where is he? There we are. And it's a name that I will struggle to pronounce, so I'm not going to try. We'll call him Samu. But as I said, he's been fantastic for Porto this season. He's got something like, as I said, like 25 goals, I think, this year. At the price point, for me, it's better to upgrade the midfielders where I don't think there's as many good budget options, and then to go for a budget striker who, in my opinion, looks a really, really solid pick. And that, for me, when I've looked at it, is the sort of the best way around. As I said, I think a lot of people will probably go for the more premium assets, the whole premium front line, which I think might be the play. Like Mbappe could go off. I understand that, because that's one thing. I don't have any Real Madrid players at all in this team, which is potentially a concern to people. But I just think, as I said, the upside of having the more expensive midfield and then the cheaper front line, because there's such a good front line option at 4.2 million, that sort of way around for me looks the best, really. So yeah, that's what I've gone with up front. He looks like, as I said, he's the pick that makes my team that all click together. So yeah, I really like him. As I said, like 25 goals for 4.2 million. He does seem like he's massively underpriced. And there's a few, as I said, the budget players I've gone for sort of all Porto players. And again, this is based on my theory that the sort of European teams are going to be much stronger than the rest of the world, and which again might be wrong. I am obviously based in Europe, so I actually know more about them. But yeah, that is my team. So yeah, that's my first draft complete anyway. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and let me know if you think that I've probably been maybe too biased towards Europe. I know that could potentially happen. Or if there's any picks I'm missing from the likes of the Argentinian league and the Saudi league, etc. I have looked at a few picks there, quite like Renard Lodi in defense. I think he's about 4.5 million. He looked like a really nice pickup. I think there's Batistuta as well, some an Argentinian player, but he might be going to PSG. He looks like a really good pickup, but cheap instead as well, if you want to go instead of Rodrigo Mora. But yeah, this is the way my team is currently lining up. And as I said, let me know what you think in the comments below. Drop a like on the video if you really enjoyed it. And except that, I think we're going to have some more team reveals this week from other Fantasy Football Scout members. But that is enough from me. I will catch you on the next one. Bye for now, everybody. Bye for